Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me to this forum. And thank you very much for the good job you've done on this document. I agree with many of the proposals here, and the responses here are also very quality in terms of being used by the actors in terms of implementation of public participation in both national and county government. And I think, I'm sure the PS has pronounced himself here, is already a useful document. The reasons are different. You know, part of the reason why participation is not good perhaps would be because in 2002, I went to the Ministry of, one of the ministries anyway, I think it was National Council of Science, to look for a document I needed to use for my thesis. And when I reached there, I was told that's official government secret. It was a draft document at that time on what to do with genetically modified goods, crops. And I went to Google and I realized that the same person who said I should not access had already presented in some conference in Netherlands. And it's only that I could not access the document in that website. Now, if I carry those historical arguments, I will not go back to any ministry, unless I convince myself that government has changed from when we used to say, and I'm being honest. So the reason why the response might be low is perhaps a Kenyan had an experience 10 years ago, and that Kenyan has not changed the attitude about government. So can you imagine being told to go to city council offices if you don't believe that there are any changes that have occurred so far? So I think it's a good document. It enables us, those who are actors in various levels in government, including the PS, to now go sit back again and ask, what could be the reason, despite the fact that we have improved the access to information, what could be the reason why, whatever. So when I read this document, even where I don't agree with the finding or the arguments that someone is putting across, for example, it says Elgeyo Marakwet County is among the top 15 counties or 10 that need more reconciliation and bringing people together. But when I go to the county, I don't see why it needs that, why there is whatever. But it's possibly because just before elections, one of the campaign agenda of my competitor and other people was that we have to divide seats between the Marakwets and the Keyos. And that if we don't do that, this community is polarized, will not stay together. So we tested that theory in the elections. And interestingly, I come from Marakwet. I was voted with 90,000 votes. My competitor got 20, and he came from KO. The governor comes from Marakwet. He was voted with 77,000 votes. The competitor is a KO and got 20-something thousand votes. So in essence, I beat my candidate in his own area, in his own constituency. In other words, the perceived mentality that there is a conflict between Keyos and Marakwet is not there. But because it was a theory of competition, of politics, then it found its way in research, for example. So it is an important document because then you can be able to go through and say, I don't agree with this, but the reason why it found itself here is this is the explanation, This is the explanation. I think this is a very good document. I just wanted to talk about the document itself, and that's the advantage of research. Thank you for inviting me to speak here. I lived in the past in a situation where a politician is not an intellectual. And so I was among the people who used to bash people around and say, those politicians. Now, I think it was a month ago that I said to someone, politicians are not they are not serious people. He told me, but one of them, I said, oh my God, I forgot because we are used to that idea. So because we are called all things, including Kikeugeu and all that much, such forums are very important for us to be able to demystify some of the arguments that come for and against us. And I think it's important also that we're having this forum at such a time as this, when the discussion nationally about devolution is very heated, mixed up with, of course, many other issues, including whether or not we should go for a referendum and all other issues. But I want to briefly speak to devolution from a perspective of participation, because we have many angles of discussing matters of devolution. First of all, is that it's important also to be in a Catholic function, because devolution is a contribution of the old Catholic leaders, the popes, through the principle of subsidiarity. Subsidiarity is a very old principle developed in 1891 by a Catholic pope. And it was Pope Pius XI who actually finally concretized the definition of what is subsidiarity and said that it is a fundamental principle of social philosophy fixed on unchangeable, that one should not withdraw from an individual and commit to a community what they can accomplish by their own enterprise and industry. The actual argument on the principle of subsidiarity is that it is linked together to the human freedom, individual freedom, that a human being is a rational being and does not need to be driven around to be able to make decisions that are affecting them as individuals. That is the whole thing, that which can be done at a family level, that was his argument then, and it's still the argument that supports devolution today, that something that can be done at the family, let it be done at the family, let it not be brought to the village. And that which can be done in the village, be done in the village, let it not be brought to the location, and so forth. So the important issue here is that individual freedom and freedom for every citizen is linked to being able to govern themselves at a very local level. Now, this is a very difficult statement to mention to a Kenyan, because the password for every Kenyan is tunaomba serikali. Yeah? So the closer the government, the better the governed in terms of the Kenyan system. So every time we have problems in this country, everybody will ask, where is the senator? Where is the governor? Where is the MP? Where is the government? There is nothing that pains tunaomba serikali than the Budalangi story. You saw it, right? And for those of you who saw it. So we actually, a friend of mine told me about an incident in Maimayu. You know, if you reach Maimayu, not Maimayu, Kikope, yeah? Is that where we sell meat, right? There is a place there that when it rains, it will flood. But you know, someone in his own senses builds, when it's dry, they go and build the houses there. Yeah, in a quarry and a place which is whatever. When it rains, nasema, sisi tuko kwa shida, tuko masquatters, tunaomba serikali. But we all know that we were going to a place which has a problem. So individual freedom is very important. If you see countries, Western countries, say US, Europe, and wherever, you will hear this argument that we want less of government and more of the people. You remember after the 2008 financial crisis in US and Europe, that Obama administration introduced legislations that were going to monitor banks closely and how citizens, how banks are operating and so forth and so forth. And remember, it almost costed him a second term, because the argument was that he was overloading the people with government. Yeah? But here, the more legislation we have to form commissions, to form a task force, to form something that, around people, so that you can be seeing government is hang around yourself, is very important. So the thing is that we need to learn, therefore, that devolution was not meant for that county government can behave on people at the local level. Indeed, it's not me. It is the Constitution itself in Article 174 that says that the objective of devolution was to, one, create democratic and accountable exercise of power. Yeah? That means that when the structures are closer with the people, we are more accountable to the people as government, or people working in government are more accountable to the people, because this county is small, it's nearer. You can be able to walk to the governor's office. One of my arguments I used to say is that the reason why the money that comes to counties are expected that it will be used better is because it is easy to, monitor the governor. Say, hey, the other day he was like, hey, nowadays bwana yamejenga nyumba pale, fanya nini, na ile salary yake kweli ilifikia hapo, lazima kulikuwa na deal. Yeah? Then you can be able to take your tweaks and whatever and walk to the county government. But you can't walk to President Uhuru's office at State House. Can you easily go there before you get out of the gate? And that is why I am not a believer of securitizing governors with escorts over, because the idea here was that this is a man of area. Who would kill you at home? Unless you stole the money of people. So the idea is that the system locally must allow us to be able to engage the governor like it's an ordinary person. And that's why you find them having 5 to 6 escorts. They actually undermine the same objective of us demystifying government. You know? I mean, and I think there is also this mentality that Kenyans would be more respect to you if you come with 2 or 3 vehicles. And, there are some 5 mean-looking people opening the door for you. Yeah? And it is you who are encouraging leaders to be like that. Yeah? Because, if the governor of County X, okay, they're all my friends, but let me use it, but if you report to them, I'll explain myself. If the governor of Kiambu, was to go for the same forum with the governor of Elgeyo Marakwet County, people would say, ile ingine ndio governor zaidi. And the people, no, these are serious matters. And the people who are encouraging you to look more, whatever, is yourselves. Because it's the other one now you respect more as of a governor than my humble governor who will walk to you and, he has 1 or 2 security. So that is 1. 2, devolution was to give power of self-governance to the people and enhance the participation of the people in the exercise of powers of the state and in making decisions affecting them. That is Article 174. It gives self-governance. Run your affairs in County X. Determine for your self-development. Reduce this imagination that when the president comes to your area and say, Mheshimiwa Rais, tunaomba serikali yako. We want to come to an end with that, that discussion. I go for some meetings and I feel a little bit embarrassed. Yeah? I don't want to mention where. We went the other day. And people are still talking about, Mheshimiwa Rais, ukiona hiyo shule, unaona hiyo shule haikai mzuri. And I'm like, my God, by the time my president is imagining kuweka mabati hii shule. And of course, the president said, yeah, okay, sasa tutajenga, wacha nitoe kitu tuanzie. But that is his own personal contribution. The end of that kind of approach, because you remember the Moise days, you would go to, I think Kibaki didn't do all these funny things. It was those days you would say all the shule, ati upepo ilikuja, Mheshimiwa Rais, it removed the mabati, and we request you to, and then the president would start and say, wapi waziri wa education, anasimama, anakaa chini, nime-instruct wewe. Then it will never be done. Then, it will never be done. But the people will really clap. And remember those days, we'll be very happy and we will tell everybody, Rais Moi ni mzuri, waziri wake wa education tu ni mbaya. So alimwambia hapo. But even when the president was making that decision, he didn't mean it. He was just like that. Waziri wa barabara utaangalia hiyo maneno. Waziri wa nini utaangalia hiyo maneno. So we need this participation of people at the governance at the local level must be real. But then how do you actualize it? It can only be real if the development process involves the people. And how does that development process involve people? We start with budget. Counties have just finished their county integrated development plan, a number of them, because it's a constitutional requirement that they pass it before the budget can be, the money can be released from there by the budget approved by the controller budget. But this process started from the village or whatever district and so forth. But how many people participated? The mayor is here. There used to be processes in the city council that used to happen, but nobody used to go. Yeah? I mean, and then for us who are schooled, we are all in Nairobi and so forth. We didn't go back to our county to inform it, and we have a reason to get informed. And then we allow our relatives who didn't go to school, because in those old days, when you go to school, you come to Nairobi. Then the people, that was the brain drain we have always had. You finish education, you come to urban area. The rural areas are what we call starved of intellectual support. Now we continue with that. The county integrated development plan was done there, it was finished, it was brought. Somebody told me that, ask them about the budget and the participation. I didn't ask, somebody was giving me a story of what happened in Coast. Then they said, ilikuwa ni kama masishi, yeah? You know the funeral. We were told, they brought the document here, ni kama vile wanaleta mwili. They just wakaweka hapo, wakasema tuangalie, tukaangalia na tukaenda. We didn't change a thing, you know. I mean, they were asking, if you go to a funeral, what will you do to the body? Nobody can go. The same, exactly the same way, what's happening in the village, the county government will draft what they draft, they take it to districts. People don't understand what is budget, what is what. They just say, that money is not bad. Then the minutes will indicate that they were in a meeting, it was approved, and then if you go make noise from here and say, our county strategic plan, our budget is not good, our what is not good. But you see, they already saw it and went. Next time you ask about public participation, they tell you, by the way, the Constitution says, and we did it. So the public participation is not enough, it is the quality of that participation. And for the participation to be quality, then it needs our contribution as a people. The other function of Article 174 says to recognize the right of communities to manage their own affairs and to further their own development. Now the argument here is that for a long time, and Priscilla was my colleague, Priscilla, the lady who spoke. I call her Priscilla because she was just, I think, 2 classes ahead of me in Parklands. And I wish she was here. I remember we had gone to do community work in campus those days as a Christian Union. And I have a picture, I was brushing her shoes. So I should be able to show her. But anyway, the thing here is that there is this perception that there are better areas that are more developed than others. Yeah? There are areas that are more developed than other areas of the country. Whether it is true or perceived, the devolution was there for giving us an opportunity to say, you people of Mandera, now you have 4 billion. Now spend them well. If you steal that money in Mandera, it's up to you. Yeah? Don't come and blame the national government and say, we are not developed. The people of Kisumu, here is your money. If you make your governor to live in a hotel, that is fine. Yeah? And buy 12 vehicles, it's up to you. Yeah? If the people of Bungoma, this is your money. If you put 54 million to the dancing allowance of the governor, it's up to you. Because I was told 54 million is dancing allowance for the governor in that area. So the idea is that, therefore, if there will be imbalanced development in the country, it is how we run devolution at the local level. So now, if we don't take that seriously, the budget and priority in the county, then we will have nothing to show. And that is why if 10 years down the line, counties are meeting in a particular place, there will be counties that will be reporting on the development and still complain to national government. There will be others that will be saying we are contributing more money than we did 10 years down the line to the national coffers. So it depends on how we foster that local development. And finally, in Article 174, ensure approximate, easily accessible services throughout Kenya and ensure equitable development of sharing of resources. So basically, it's the same concept I'm talking about. But there are, what are the different forms of devolution and how does it enhance participation? You have various structures of decentralization for every country. In Kenya, we have 2 levels. We have the national government and we have what? The county government. We have 47 counties. We cannot explain why we went for 47. It is not, even if you read the story in Naivasha, it started with, we have regions and then we have counties. Then others said, no, we don't want those things. It looks like it was in 1963, Majimbo, we don't want. So there was a change. We went 14 regions, then you have counties, and so forth, until someone said, why don't we go back to the former districts? So they went to the 41 districts plus the extra 6 that were added, 5, and then Nairobi. So it became 47. But there is a challenge in terms of participation in that regard, because 3-tier was useful because of economies of scale. Counties are being given certain projects that would have been better handled at the regional level. For example, water and sanitation services. It's okay that every county is going to have its own entity to deal with water, but water is a resource that is shared almost at a regional level. If you go to Lake Victoria North Water Service Board, where my county falls, it is 7 counties. And that is good for attracting proper investment when it comes to water. If you look at Nairobi, we get water from Ranga, right? If you look at Machakos, they get water from Kajiado, and so forth and so forth. The counties have to now think about how to deal with the economies of scale problems in terms of huge infrastructural projects, so that we can be able to keep together certain counties for purpose of certain functions, so that the smaller functions can be done at a county level. So the lack of a 3-tier system is basically led us to form these things called urban areas and city boards, which I have no time to explain now, but basically are entities of county government at a local level. Then you have districts, which are called sub-counties, and you have wards, which are also called ward administrators, and so forth and so forth. We must also, the other problem is that our perception of counties also need to change. I saw again in the research, they were being asked, what's the difference between a mayor and a governor? And what's the difference between county council and county government? The most critical difference is to look at the functions. If you look at Schedule 4, Part 2 of the Constitution, you will find that agriculture, for example, is a function of county government. That means food security is dependent on county government, as a matter of fact. So the right to food, if you don't have food in county X, you don't sue national government, because they just provide policy. The real resources and ensuring that agriculture is there is your county. Yeah? I was still wondering the other day, we have all to be educated. I think Governor Kidero has a minister of agriculture and livestock. Yeah, I saw something like that. And Mayor, if I'm not wrong, it's illegal to have livestock in Nairobi. But I'm being educated, and it's good to learn. I'm being told that there's something called urban agriculture, where you have, you get soil into a bale, and some of them do so well than even the rural agriculture itself. But that is important. You have sports and cultural activities. It's a function of county government, including sports facilities. You have county transport, including public transport. I don't know what that means, because we have not done what's called unbundling of functions. You have water and sanitation. It's a function of county. So the right to water, you sue county government. If you don't have water, you don't sue national government, except policy. You have housing. If Kibera needs to be eradicated as a slum, it depends on county government to do that. You have electricity and gas reticulation. That means it's possible for counties to generate their own energy and distribute it among themselves without going through Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Of course, KPLC doesn't want to listen to that. And then you have cultural activities like marriage. Yeah? And that's why Rachel agrees with me that when they were saying a marriage bill is not a county function, I was wondering, because the Constitution says culture is a function of county government. And culture includes marriage and other things that need to be done. Then you have trade development. Trade development is also a function of county government. So in other words, development of the country relies heavily on how we shepherd the counties to function, because that is where social economic rights under Article 43 are going to be realized. And it's the moment we are now change that thinking, we will treat county government. I need not mention that all health facilities except 2 referral hospitals in this country are a function of counties. Now, doctors and nurses are telling us, who will be hired by county government? You've heard that story, yeah? They have petitioned to our committee. But the question is, And this is the most important question. Doctors are not saying to be hired by county government. Do you know why they are saying that? Because the mentality about county government is the county council. That's a fact. The same government has hired engineers. Yeah? They will hire lawyers. They will hire agricultural experts. They will hire sociologists. What's the difference between doctors and nurses? You know? So we need to have faith in county government as a government. And that's why I have really pleaded with my friends at the National Assembly that the debate, you've seen National Assembly, sometimes they allow very silly debates to go on, yeah? And this is important. It plays in the people's minds, just the same way the former Prime Minister was doing the other day, by telling us, those are fake title deeds in cost. If you tell the public that those are fake title deeds, when I want to use it as a collateral to get money, the banks will have that in mind, playing that a serious leader, I say they are fake title deeds. There are certain statements we cannot say to the public and expect that they will have confidence in the institutions that serve people. We have to be honest on these issues, And that's why, as legislators, we have to demonstrate the respect of the institutions of the county level and the national level so that the people can have the confidence to deal with them. That is my argument when it comes to that. Then you have the last 3 or 4 arguments I'll make quickly and then end there. Is that there is a danger. There is a danger when it comes to shepherding devolution and participation because the story has been lost when it comes to power vis-a-vis service. The debate for the last 4 months has been who is more powerful. It started with us. The senators were saying, the first question people were asking us was that, the governor has formed this government. Where's your government, senator? So then we asked ourselves, are we powerful or is it governors who are powerful? So for a few months we were debating on how do we deal with governors so that you don't look irrelevant at the local village. Then it moved to between us senators and National Assembly members. You saw that, The rest of us are old men, including myself. That's nyumba ya wazee. On the other side, from the Senate, we were saying, but National Assembly is so crowded, it's like a high school with 3 streams. So, and then so forth and so forth. You go to the county, because the one for upper house and lower house is obvious. It's, of course, And then you go to the county government. You find the county executive as county legislature. And the power plays at the county government are so worse that at some point some budgets were almost not being passed at the county government. Do you know that in some counties the county assembly was saying we need 50% of the budget to be controlled by the county assembly service board? And the speaker was saying, if I control 50%, nyinyi wa county assembly fanyeni kazi yenu. Everybody wants to mutilate the money a little bit to have their share of the money. Now, this power play is not useful for all of us. And as time goes, we have had to come back to our senses and tell ourselves that chapter 6 talks about you are the servants of the people. You are not the lords over them. And I think it's for you to, impose that on us. I like, and Rachel will be laughing because he knows the reason why. I like quoting Mark chapter 9:35. That says that whoever shall want to be great, shall be as humble as this small child. So I told National Assembly, maneno ya kushindana ya mkubwa, hata sisi tumeenda chini ya MCS. Tuende chini yao, tukue, ndio wananchi waamue, kama Senate ni ya kufakia, tutafakia sana. So, like Martin Luther said that if the cast falls on you to sweep until the host of heaven will say, there was a great sweeper. So it's important that we all come to our senses and be able to deal with the functions we are supposed to do. And then the third and the fifth is ethnicity. Ethnicity at the county level. Every country in the world, now I'm talking a lot and I was saying I'm leaving early. Every country in the world has their own system of devolution. United States, and it's based on their history. United States have 50 states because of the Civil War. So as a solution to the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, among others, brought together the Union. Do you know why Americans have the State of the Union address? The State of the Union address, which is delivered every year, is to update the country how the Union is doing. You see all the time, you'll hear Obama will say, so that our Union may be stronger than ever. Because the idea here is that to keep the country together, that time it would have created 50 countries in the United States. So they compromised and created states and created local entities. South Africa, remember after Mandela was released, South Africa was going to break up. Yeah, Mangosuthu Buthelezi and his group wanted the Durban and the KwaZulu-Natal, that region, to go. They compromised, they created three-tier system. You have the national, the provincial, and the municipal system. You go to Ethiopia, Ethiopia was going also to break up. They decided to form ethnic regions. They decided, say, wajana kudanganyana. Let's just say every tribe can go and govern themselves, and then we keep the nation together. So the Somalis, who are about 26%, formed the Somali state. The Oromos, who are at 6%, formed the Oromo state. The Tigris, the same. The southern state, which had a combination of various tribes, they formed districts for every tribe to govern themselves. And they put in their constitution that if you want to secede and form your own country, you can go. As a result of that, people realize it's okay to govern ourselves, but also it's okay to be Ethiopia. So they have not decided to go anywhere. Yeah? The Oromos who are 34% and Somalis, if they were to come together in the country, they would form the tyranny of numbers. Because 34 from 26, they would form 60, and they would control the country. But as you know, the former president, the former prime minister came from 11% of the community. The current one is, their tribe is 2%. Yeah? So I look forward to a country where 2% will lead the country. Yeah? And that it will not be a problem. Yeah? We must be able to work towards that direction. But as we do that, we must face the immediate challenge of ethnicity. We need to question ourselves, what is Kenyan devolution? What is different from Kenyan devolution from Ethiopian one? I want us to be practical. What is Muranga County? Yeah? What is Turkana County? It's for who? Yeah? Turkana for Turkanas, yeah? What is Kisii County? What is Nandi County? The other day, when we were going around to get the proposal for the legislation, people were saying, and how do we ensure that Nandi remains for Nandis? So if you go across the country, you will find it difficult to get a county that is not ethnically homogeneous. Very few. It could be Mombasa, Nairobi, a little bit, two. But even Nairobi, Hakuna. There was a time, remember those days when I was a political analyst? So we used to have those analyses where you go to a hotel and take tea. And then someone told me, Murkomen unaongea siasa ya Nairobi unaongea nini? Wakalenjin wangapi wako hii town? Siasa ya Nairobi. Wewe unajua nini? Yeah? And I remember a friend of mine came to me and told me, I want to run for MP in Nairobi. Sijui niende Kawangware. So I asked why. Akaniambia utanisaidia na mtu mwenye wako wa ABC, nataka nijue Waluya ni wengi upande gani. So I realized even the Nairobi that we were priding ourselves that is ethnically, whatever, was just a mirage. We are still struggling with ethnicity. The question we ask ourselves, how do you trust in Nandi County, for example, that Dr. Cleophas Lagat, the governor, will ensure that Kisis in that county, Luyas in that county, Kikuyus in that county will get jobs? Yeah? Or in Elgeyo Marakwet County, or in Turkana, or in Nyeri. Yeah? I would have been very happy if I saw one county executive member of Nyeri County being a Kalenjin, but it's not possible because of the political pressure. Now, the question is that in going forward, these are the challenges we have to deal with, and therefore, there might be a section of the population in certain counties that will not participate in any way because they don't come from that tribe. They will not be consulted, they will not be given opportunity to serve, and therefore, we have to be aware of that challenge. Last is that, the last, not not the politician last, is that we have a problem with civic education. The Bible says that how will they know without someone telling them? And how will that person tell them unless there is a what? Unless someone is sent. And how will they be sent unless there is? They believe. But the question is, how shall we be able to carry civic education if there is no specific institutions given the mandate and given the resources to do civic education? Because it's important. Two, how shall we be having civic education if the people at the top are the most ignorant? I didn't see the response from this researcher, but I think one of the questions that needs to be done is to demonstrate. By the way, the people in my village might be knowing more about devolution than you who are seated here. Because of the pride that is in us who have gone to school. We think we know everything. We assume we know everything. And because we know, we are not willing to learn. Learning requires humility, especially if you have reached degree and above level. For you to sit down and be lectured by somebody about public participation, you have to be humble. The humility to learn in this country is wanting, and we have to deal it from the top. We are chasing the day-to-day issues without really looking at long-term for our country. And therefore, to be able to inform that long-term, we have to have better civic education. And that's why my suggestion to the Minister of Devolution, and I say this in the floor of the House, and I've done this to her face-to-face, is that it's important now we work towards organizing a national conference on devolution so that all of us we move from one page when it comes to devolution. Because now it's almost being reduced. Everybody's just saying, if you are for referendum, you are for devolution. If you are not for referendum, you are anti-devolution. Where did that one come from? Yeah? I mean, really, and it's just basically ignorance. Thank you very much.